and she created this, this beautiful, I have to look at what it's called, forest with a radial sunset. And so we will make sure that she gets her award. And finally, we have Juliana Fry, and she created a watercolor monoprint. And again, beautiful work. And we will make sure this is displayed and that she also gets her award. So a round of applause for our wonderful Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Great, moving on to reports to the board. Student representative.
Unless you want to.
Good evening, my name is Katie Poole. I am the treasurer for the class of 2026. The high school most recently participated in the Global Day of Play. This was a big hit. Tons of students were very happy to know that our school not only cares about our learning, but also cares about our mental health. And sometimes all you need is a nice relaxing day, so I was very grateful to have the Day of Play. Sports-wise, sectionals for many winter sports are starting to take place. Swim sectionals are tomorrow and Friday, and indoor track and field sectionals are on Saturday. Next week is February break, so many students are excited for that break. And then the week after February break is the high school show Guys and Dolls on March 1st and 2nd.
Thank you. Lots going on. Thank you.
All right, reports from district administrators.
Okay, we'll start out with Ms. Saxby.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to piggyback off of Katie and say that we thoroughly enjoyed Global Play Day as well. It was a great day in the building. Not a lot of snow for outside, but they still went out and played in the mud. We also celebrated 100 days on Monday. And one of the charming things about celebrating 100 days is our little kindergartners come dressed up as what they believe a 100-year-old would look like. It's quite entertaining. And then finally, I just want to thank Dan Scooterman. Kayla Euro is doing her admin internship at the high school for 10 weeks, and Dan Scooterman has come in to be her long-term sub, and it's great to have him back in the building.
Thank you. Good. All good news. Ms. Taylor.
After we Global School Day of Play, I would also like to recognize our Tier 1 team who did a lot of planning around that day. So I'd like to recognize Kathy Abdenasser, Michaela Gordon, Rich Rossi, and Julie DeLizer for really organizing that day and firming it up, especially the morning. And also, I'd like to recognize probably two individuals you are not very familiar with. Anita Van Wicken. Anita Van Wicken filled in for Erin Maynard's maternity leave, and she did a phenomenal job. And also, I'd like to recognize Anita Kelly. Anita Kelly has filled in for our art position, and we will have a new full-time art teacher on Monday after break, but both of these ladies have done a great job.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Avery.
Good evening. I will not speak about the day of play, because everybody did and it was great. And I would like to highlight, I went into English, come on in. I went into English 9 today to Mr. Blair and Ms. Stuckey's English class. They were working with Mr. Cookwhite to build a radio. So it's part of their novel Trapped, where you get snowed into school and you have to figure out how you're gonna use your survival skills to survive. And so they were soldering circuit boards and doing things with wires and kits, and it was just really very, they were all working really independently and well as a team. So it was I love to see that cross-curricular interaction.
Awesome. Thank you. Did it work?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I think it's probably more than a period, hopefully.
Okay. We'll make assembly line. All right. Ms. Lipitor.
Good evening. So on February 2nd, we had about 16 teachers from all three buildings and across all content areas come together for a day of project-based learning, a kickoff. So that's an instructional approach that we are going to be moving forward with. It aligns directly to all of the work that we're doing in regards to personalized learning, standards-based grading, standards-based instruction. So it was just a really great day. All of our entire administrative team was there to help support and present and work with our staff, and we got a lot of really positive feedback So really the goal for the end of this year with that kickoff team is to just explore. Try different things in your classroom, bring it back, tell us what worked, what didn't work, with the hopes that that will help guide us in the future when we present to our larger staff. So just wanted to say thank you to all of those staff members for being out of their classrooms for that day, and for all of our administrators for their support as well.
So I'm really excited about that work, thank you. Mr. Sutton?
No reports for me tonight.
Okay. It looks like one of our art award winners showed up here, so let's take care of business.
Every door.
Oh, no.
Somebody loves them on the side.
So Isabella, come on up. I'm gonna have you hold your art. So our middle school recipient, again, is Isabella Hurlbert, and she created a forest with a radial sunset. So just turn it around so everybody can see it. And this will be displayed at our district office for the foreseeable future. So congratulations. Nice job. Okay, look this way, we're gonna get a picture, turn this around so it shows. Okay, awesome, I'm so glad you were able to make it, and I'm sorry about the doors. That's really awesome, maybe she should say something? Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, nice job.
And I have just a very brief, report update. So all of the things that we talk about, like the Global Day of Play, the project-based learning, the project that is going on, the budget work that we've been doing, takes many hands, and many people are involved in that work. But I think some of the key people who get overlooked a lot are building principals, our building administrators. They have their hands in everything. They work so hard juggling just the daily running of the building and dealing with kids and staff, but also leading all of these initiatives and extra things that we pile on their plates all the time. So I would just like to take a minute to recognize Dr. Avery, Ms. Saxby, Ms. Taylor, and their assistant principals for the amazing job that they do at the building level, making sure all of this work gets done. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, district committee reports. We only had one, we had a tech committee meeting last week. Nothing huge to report from my end there. Okay, district events. Middle and high school report cards were available February 2nd, and the Global School Play Day, February 9th. Also huge thanks to the buildings to put that together. I know that's not easy to come up with something new to do with this, with our students every year, but I know they appreciate it. Four County School Board Association. There was a email sent out today from the director of Fort County, did you guys see that?
In reference to the buses?
About the buses, yes, yep.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, okay, just wanna make sure, I think that there's some interesting information about how they're, trying to lobby to push that date back further and further, so we'll see what happens, but a worthwhile read if you haven't had a chance to do so yet. PTSA, rep here, any report?
No, but I do have a report from them.
Okay.
The local good fundraiser, formerly the Leo Pies fundraiser, will begin this week with sales running for 2 weeks, and delivery will be before Easter break. Their next meeting is tonight, currently going on at the elementary school library, and the elementary school roller skating party dates originally scheduled for March and May have been transferred to the middle school due to some scheduling conflicts.
Thanks, Kelly. Yep. All right, moving into board reports. I need a motion to approve the CSE case summaries as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, treasurer's report. Anything here for us, Jeff?
General fund revenue side, We collected about $1 million in foundation aid in December. Appropriation side, nothing much to report. On the capital fund, cash receipts were up 9 million. That was due to signing the ban related to the capital project. The school lunch fund is showing an approximate $64,000 loss on this, however, December claims were not included in this, so overall the cafeteria fund is up about $4,000, which is nice to know considering we transitioned to CEP, which is really what we kind of expected, breaking even while giving everybody free lunch, so.
And for those that were on the board last time, we tried to initiate a community eligibility program. It didn't work because our free and reduced rate was not high enough, but at this point, we're seeing enough of a reimbursement that we're breaking even, so that's really good news.
That's really good news. I assume lunch purchases are up too?
Yes, Tina will be reporting to us next meeting, so.
Okay. Thanks. All right, quarterly achievement report.
Okay. I don't know if it's possible to get you that TV. I could just so that our audience can see the presentation.
Here, this is the issue, I'll do it.
It's so hard.
The remote works for both of them. That's so funny.
Alright.
I want stuff in my
Hang on, we gotta get into
Get some enjoyment.
Oh no, did that one go off now?
I'm sorry.
Here, let me take that, that should.
Kelly to the rescue.
Should have brought 2 different teams.
I know, right? Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Maybe there's something to bring up the presentation.
For this or?
No, the other one.
There you go. Okay. So I'm going to, I'll go through each of the slides, I'll highlight some of the major data points for you for the second marking period. This particular academic achievement report is only going to highlight our middle school and high school because our elementary just wrapped up their second quarter. So we'll present on them at a later date. You can go to the next slide. So for our first data point, we're looking at high school achievement. And something to note, as always, is that every point in the year, you kind of have these trends that you see year to year, and second quarter is usually a trend where we see dips, and we do see those, but we also have some really great things to be able to celebrate from first quarter. So I'm gonna do a little bit of comparison from first to second. So while we did see a slight dip in grades 10, 11, and 12, our 9th grade cohort remains steady with their achievement, which I think is huge, and I would love to also be able to contribute it to the work that both Mike and Kate are leading in the buildings in terms of freshman foundations and providing our freshmen with those skills to be able to set themselves up for success when transitioning into the high school. So that was really great to see. Go to the next slide. In terms of middle school achievement, we also observed dips in grades 5 through 7, but we did see a slight increase in 8th grade, which it was a celebration for us. And at the end of the presentation, I will give you a more detailed report on exactly what we're doing to take some steps to continue to improve our academic achievement. But for right now, I'll just speak to the data points. Moving on to a look at over time. You can go to the next slide. So this is high school achievement over time. which is kind of nice because you're seeing, from year to year, looking at that second marking period, you are seeing an overall increase when you look at our cohorts. Go to the next slide. Oh, go back one. There you go. So there's middle school achievement over time, where we're not seeing quite the increase that we would like. Although when you look at our grade 8, from 7th grade to 8th grade, they have made positive growth in their achievement for the second marking period. So just on the flip side, this is giving you our non-proficient numbers per grade level, so I'll just let you take a look at those. And then I'll speak more to the course by course proficiency levels. And go to the next one. So this is again just that picture of non-proficient over time for our high school. And then the middle school. You can go to the next slide. So this is really where it dives in deeper. So when you look at the non-proficient data by course, we see some variation. So specifically for the high school, we are seeing an increase in non-proficiency across content areas, but Mike and Kate are doing a really nice job of meeting with those, not only grade levels, but meeting with those teachers within the departments to further identify exactly what are those barriers to students not being successful. So while we have seen an increase in some of those content areas, a huge celebration for us is that we've seen a 4% decrease in the number of students who are non-proficient in algebra, which I know, year after year, that seems to be a course that our students struggle with for various reasons. But that was a really nice celebration to see, and I know that our teacher has been working really hard to put some steps into place for that. For middle school, it's kind of the same story, so we're seeing some variation within certain content areas, but a huge celebration for us at the middle school is that our English department from first quarter to second quarter has really observed some really positive growth and significant growth, I would say, in terms of decreasing the number of students who are non-proficient. We have seen a slight increase in the number of students who are non-proficient, specifically in social studies and math. So Brian and Kate are digging into that a little bit more with our staff members to again identify what's really causing that decline, but the ELA piece was just huge for us. So, and I've been part of some really great conversations with our 5 through 8 ELA department, and they are really diving in. They're looking at all the data points, they're going back to those standards. They've done a really nice job of identifying what those patterns are, 5 through 8. They've identified informational text and vocabulary as kind of their two major concepts that they need to focus on, and they are doing some heavy vertical alignment. So that has been really impressive to see, and I think we're already seeing the fruit of that labor in their marking period 2 achievement data.
Is that math 7 significantly higher than normal?
So I don't know about like from year to year, but from first to second, it was about a 7% increase. And we are having those conversations.
It feels a lot, like, when you see 30% of kids not proficient, I struggle with that, but when we get to 42, I mean, almost half the students. So it sticks out to me as a.
Yeah. We also agree, and we are having those conversations. I think there's some potential overlap with students who are not being successful in more than one courses, and we're trying to look at it that way too. If there's a trend there, why aren't those students being successful from one course to another? And just the opposite, why are they being successful in one course but not in the other? So we're having those conversations.
It seems like 7th grade in general, right, struggling.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, we can go to the next slide. So you will see kind kind of a common trend in our iReady data. You can, that's the big picture, but you can go to the next slide that has the grade level breakout. So we are seeing some positive growth in terms of our reading iReady data for grades 5 and 6. We're not seeing as much growth as we would like to see in grades 7 and 8. So we are trialing a new practice this year for grades 7 and 8 based on feedback that we got. So typically our students are engaged in the program on a weekly basis where they participate in weekly lessons for about 40 minutes. And based on feedback that we received, knowing that as the students get older and once they've been in iReady for a number of years, they start to get tired of it, the motivation starts to decline. So we are trialing the practice of just having them do the benchmarks and then having our teachers pull in supplemental resources as appropriate to fill in some of those gaps based on that data. But we have made it clear that if we're not seeing that positive growth, that's a practice that we may have to reconsider in the future. So again, we are having those conversations, but we're seeing the same trend in math as well. You can move to the next slide. So this is the math overall picture from benchmark from window 1 to window 2. So we have seen some growth overall, but then if you go to the last slide with the grade level data, huge celebration in 6th grade, just huge. The growth that the 6th graders have made is fantastic, and I would say the same for 5th, not as much as 6th, but definitely right there. And again, having those conversations about grades 7 and 8. So big question is, what are we doing to address all of the areas of need? I think we certainly need to continue to celebrate the things that we are doing really well with. I could name off a list of all of the initiatives and all of the work that we've put in place to address these, but you already know all of those things. So some specific things that we've been doing within the past 10 weeks, based on our Q1 data, is that our building principals and I have really worked on developing a thoughtful plan for communication with our staff. How do we go back and have conversations about what high quality instruction looks like? Because we know that high quality instruction starts in our classrooms, our tier 1 classrooms, not our AIS rooms, not any of our special programs, but our tier 1, our general education classrooms. So we are in the midst right now of having those conversations, and I think they've been really productive. Every building has done something a little bit unique to address those. So high school has taken the step of having teachers look at data, identify classroom practices that have been successful, and identify one new practice they want to try in the next 5 to 10 weeks to see how that can help to improve academic achievement. Kindergarten is working by grade level, and we have more teachers in one grade level at the elementary school. So again, trying to come up with those consistent methods that can be used in 8th grade or middle school is doing a grade level / kind of department depending on need given our data. So those are happening. Department meetings and district roundtables, that's something that we've initiated this year. And the most recent one was focused on tier 1 instruction and getting teachers back to the practice of being reflective and thinking about what role they play in the classrooms, how they can help to take ownership of this, because it is a team effort, right? It's not just us, it's not just our teachers, it's a team effort. So what practices can they employ to help improve academic achievement, and how can we provide them with the resources to do that? So our district roundtable really focused on bringing that conversation back alive. And then lastly, not to take up too much more time, but going back to our work, we are having conversations about what literacy looks like across all content areas. We know literacy is the foundation of success in everything that you do, and so we are having some really serious and thoughtful conversations about how we put the tools and the resources in our teachers' hands to allow them to be literacy instructors, even if they're not in ELA or in reading. So we are having those conversations. We're starting to, we had a school visit, we're starting to, be planful for next year, so we're really excited about some potential moves that we can make. And then again, I'll just say with the implementation of project-based learning, the goal is engagement, motivation. How do we put learning back in the students' hands and have them take the ownership of it? So a lot of pieces, nothing that I think is going to have, you know, a magic wand that's going to change things from one day to the next, but more looking long-term. And how do we put these really thoughtful steps into place so that long-term we can have the impact that we want and need to have? I don't know if you have any questions. Give you a mouthful, sorry.
I don't have any questions, you answered all the ones I had, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, budget presentation, most exciting part of the evening.
I know, it's what everyone's waiting.
Been waiting for this all week, Jeff. It's like Tuesday.
Tonight we have a pretty brief presentation, so I'm sorry for that. We're still waiting for some things to be made available to us, but there are some things we can check off the list.
Locally or
For what?
for what you're waiting
Yeah, more locally, I'll get it, yeah. Go ahead. On tonight's agenda, we're gonna look at the tax cap overview, we're gonna talk about some terms in the tax cap calculation. We're gonna look at the tax cap formula for submission to the office of the state comptroller. We're gonna look at the allowable levy growth factor versus CPI historically. And talk about some notes, updates, and unknowns that we have, and finally a summary of where we are right now. Go ahead. So over the next several slides, we're going to discuss the tax cap calculation. The tax levy accounts for about 45% of the revenue budget. This slide looks at some of the terminology involved in the tax cap calculation. The tax base growth factor is a measurement of new assessments being added to the assessment roll, and is a figure that is determined by New York State. Pilots are agreements made between business owners, Wayne County Industrial Development Agency, town and school districts. These agreements allow for set assessments over a period of time. Essentially, the property is removed from section 1 of the assessment roll, and companies make direct payments to the school and town. The allowable levy growth factor is the lesser of 2% and the consumer price index. So that's the infamous 2% that everybody talks about. Well, everyone in my circles. Probably not everyone. The capital exclusion calculation compares debt payments to the corresponding aid payments that we receive. So when you're paying more on your debt than you are receiving in aid, the formula allows districts to levy additional taxes to cover those expenses. And so you can levy more. We don't have that this year. It's not perfect, but with some financial planning, you can kind of maneuver around that so you don't have those fluctuations in the tax cap. The pension exclusions are related to the growth in contributions to the retirement system. So if you have more than 2% growth in the employee retirement system or the teacher retirement system, the tax cap formula allows for you to levy more taxes. And we do actually have that this year. It's the first time in over 10 years, actually, since there's been a pension exclusion. And finally, there is carryover, which is a value not levied in the prior year. Go ahead, next one. So this is the tax cap calculation as it's presented on the state comptroller's website, just so you can see what I see. We start with the prior year tax levy. We multiply that by the tax base growth factor of 1.0044. This is a 0.17% increase from the prior year. So those assessed values have gone up according to New York State. We add the prior year pilot payments of 21,535. We multiply the sum of that by the allowable levy growth factor. Again, the allowable levy growth factor is the lesser of 2% or CPI, the consumer price index. The consumer price index is greater than 2% this year, so it is 2%. Then we subtract the upcoming year pilots of 20,800, then add a huge $4 available carryover from the 23-24. The tax levy limit before exclusions is approximately 12.2. So next we do account for the exclusions. Again, the only exclusion here is the employee retirement system. When those contribution rates are more than the 2%, the formula calculates an increase to help mitigate that growth. Again, hasn't happened in 10 years. This year it approximates a $3,100 increase. So our tax levy limit is $12,207,398. Go ahead, next slide. Thank you. So this, you may recall this slide from last year. I had a similar slide. I presented it again because it's still a relevant talking point for the 24-25 budget year. It's a historic look back at the allowable levy growth factor versus consumer price index. So in the middle column, you see the inflationary factor, consumer price index. In the right column, you see the lesser of 2% or CPI. That right-hand column represents what is used in the tax cap formula. So in 2012-13, the allowable growth factor was 2%. And as you go down, you don't really see a lot of fluctuation until more recently. What you notice is in the last 3 years, from 23 to 25, that the growth factor is really just not keeping up with inflation. So if you go to the next slide. This slide basically just graphically illustrates the information from the prior slide. And again, I'm gonna sound somewhat like a broken record, but what you notice is that the allowable levy growth factor is generally kept up with inflation for a long time. And it really hasn't negatively impacted school districts because inflation was always around 2%, it wasn't that impactful. When inflation was 0.12% in 2017, that's what the levy growth factor was. And you couldn't really complain too much because that's where inflation was. So districts really are continuing to just experience this, this separation where inflation's outpacing the 2% or what you're allowed to increase the levy by, or that growth factor line by. And when this occurs, you just have a natural erosion of purchasing power, whether it's for supplies, materials, contractuals. You just can't, your dollar just isn't carrying you as far. And there's not really a revenue source to offset this issue. And it's something that legislators have been advocating for change on this, but you know, those calls fall silent, you know. So people are insisting there needs to be a change. There hasn't been a change. These are one of the things that districts are up against. I think it's interesting to know, like on a side note, this doesn't really pertain to the tax levy adjustment, but in the governor's calculation for foundation aid, they've always used an average of CPI as part of that calculation. And this year they decided to throw away the highest factor used for the consumer price index and the lowest. And they did that with intent that, you know, if they threw out 8% and they threw out 0.12%, well, obviously throwing out the 8% has a bigger impact. So that's why we're also receiving less foundation aid. I think this graph does a good job of showing that difference. Obviously throwing out 8% is going to impact us more. Go ahead. Thank you. So notes, updates, and unknowns, CPI just continues to just diminish the revenue power of school districts. We did receive an update on health insurance rates. The consortium voted on a 4% increase for Blue Point 2, 6% for Healthy Blue, and 9.5% for the high deductible health plan, which is significantly better than what we were thinking. But with the reduction of foundation aid, the idea is that this was purposeful reduction to help school districts get in through another year. And so we are fully expecting to see like that increase next year. So they'll eat away a little bit at fund balance that they have and not ours, theirs, to help get us down the road a little bit further, but you can expect increases on this next year. Retirements are unknown, we should know a little bit more about retirements next meeting. What you're asking about, what we're still waiting for is Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES request for services. That helps us determine the BOCES costs for the year, and that represents anywhere from 3.4 to 3.6 of our budget, so still waiting on that. And there's just been increased efforts towards advocacy for restoring foundation aid, restoring hold harmless school districts, so they're receiving some more of that funding. Go ahead. So this is where we sit right now. We have a anticipated deficit of 1.7 and still waiting on information. This calculation, again, doesn't account for appropriated fund balance or use of reserves. Expenditure and revenues projections are still subject to change as we build this and get closer to the finish line. And personnel and contractual decisions will impact these figures obviously to move forward, so this is what we're looking at currently though.
And the $250,000 reduction since last time is based on the healthcare?
Yes,
No?
yep, good question, yes, approximately 300, yep.
Which was good news, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
We'd be
Yeah.
in such-
That's helpful,
We're still
if we can go down more,
We're still in
that's
bad
even
shape,
better,
but not
you know?
still in bad shape.
yep, good question.
So, thank you, Jeff, that was wonderful. Any questions? What I would say is we have sent out calls for advocacy, we sent the links, the information to all of our families, we put it out on our social media accounts. So hopefully everybody has taken a minute to send in a letter in support of equitable foundation aid for all districts, including small rural schools. So we appreciate that.
Thanks for making that easy for us to do.
Yeah.
And Jeff, thanks for that.
Yep.
All right, capital project update.
So you have a capital project update in front of you, once a month, they send it along so you can stay well informed. Things are moving along, we have fortunately not run into too many major issues, and I always am careful how I say that, because you know what happens as soon as you say things are going great. But again, I want to just be so thankful to our buildings. So one of the things we know is if we can be flexible around the project and give them the opportunity to do work during the school year, that we will get, number one, a better rate, which is how we can keep the costs down and do more, and number two, get it done sooner, the whole project. So they have been going into classrooms, doing duct work, Kate has made sure that the corners in all the rooms have been cleaned out that need to be cleaned out so they can get in over February break. Ellen is giving us 2 flex split spaces at the elementary school, so classes will actually be moving in there for a week or so. Nobody wants us to do that.
Just my
Nothing's happening.
Flex space, which she's going to talk to her staff about soon. They are also starting the work in the middle school bathrooms with some abatement work over February break. And then April break will be tackling the high school library, flooring and abatement. It's gonna look great. They have started, the tank was delivered for out back at the snack shack. They're looking at putting in that water line and the water tanks up in the building and getting that all connected. We anticipate that'll be ready for graduation, which is really exciting, to be able to have the bathrooms out there. And a savings. So the work continues. I'm very appreciative of our architects. I'm very appreciative of Dave Ricky, who is the watchdog person on site. Todd Labar is now our project manager for Watchdog. He has a long history here, and we're really glad to have him on the job. And Patrick, our director of facilities, has been doing a marvelous job as well. So any questions about anything you see here? You see a few pictures of the kitchen. It's pretty impressive that when you take it all out, how big that space is.
Yeah. I was really impressed when I was in the district last week at the elementary to see how they were still handling school lunches. And students didn't really miss a beat, they don't see.
No, and the cafeteria staff has done amazing.
Amazing.
No, they've just been beyond
Yeah.
great about it.
Yeah, I mean,
It'll be up to like 50,000 steps a day.
yeah,
Watch it run back, it's like.
because they're in the professional development room,
Yeah.
so it's a huge adjustment, so we have such great staff.
Yes,
Thank you, it's okay. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items 5B through 5E as recommended by the superintendent.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We have no old business this evening, so we'll jump right into new business. I need a motion to approve the 2024-2025 school calendar, please.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion here?
Any questions about the calendar?
Back to 2 weeks off in winter.
2 weeks off it,
What is
That's
the,
good, that's happy.
the Lunar
Lunar New Year.
New Year?
Mhm.
It's the Year of the Dragon.
Year of the Hare's Play.
All in
What?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. I need a motion to approve the surplus of 11 AED units.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? I assume they expire.
Yes. They have
Yes.
an expiration, we're hoping to use the new one, or the old ones for either training or, with a nice.
Maybe not use them.
Last
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, yes, I hope to never use them,
Right.
but have them available for training,
Okay.
But purchasing the pads for them, they were outdated, so.
yes.
So we updated them all at once, that's a significant cost, so
It
we're
is.
looking at how to better have a rotating
Like rotation,
schedule for them.
yeah. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. I need a motion to approve the request for the textbook for the new agri-science courses.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? No? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, upcoming district committee meetings. There is a policy committee meeting March 6th before the board meeting. Upcoming district events, President's Week recess is February 19th to the 23rd. Parent-teacher conferences are half-day for UPK through 4, that's February 29th. The high school musical, the senior citizen performance is February 29th at 7 p.m. And then the musical is also March 1st and 2nd at 7 p.m. And parent-teacher conferences, again, half-day for UPK through 4th they're on March 5th. So half-day on the 5th and the 29th for the elementary school. Okay, closing items, Board of Education highlights. Oh, John.
No, I was just thinking, if you wanted to be here for public policy, tonight was the night for it.
Excellent choice.
Yeah, well done.
That was a good one, yeah. Well done.
Any other highlights?
I've been at a number of the rehearsals for the play, I'm really looking forward to that, and the kids are doing a great job, so.
Guys and dolls,
You
right?
don't wanna miss it, it's gonna be fantastic.
I know the entire board was on some different tours of the district last week, and everybody was incredibly welcoming in all of the buildings. And that was really awesome to see, it was great to show off our district, so thanks for making sure your buildings knew we were coming and they were ready for us. Any other highlights? No? Okay. How about public comment? Public comment this evening? No? Okay. I need a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I move that we enter executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person or corporation and proposed pending or current litigation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
and I would like to
Good
ask
timing.
Jeff to stay for executive session, please.
Me?
Yes, yes, you got it.
Yeah, we
So it comes up.